Welcome friends to another r/prorevenge video. If you want to join me in getting revenge against the YouTube algorithm, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. And our first story of the day is by Aerosol. Just take your stuff and go. Okay. I caught my ex-wife cheating a few years ago, and during the ensuing argument, she said, just get your stuff and go if you're going. Okay, no problem. Next day she goes to work. I take the new TV, fridge, freezer, all my clothes and electronics, and the front door, which I'd just replaced and it was still outstanding on my credit card. I leave about 5 minutes before she's due home, and the neighbors are keeping an eye on the place until she gets there. As you can imagine, I got a really interesting phone call which I sent to voicemail, and about an hour later I get a call from the police. She'd said that I stole the front door. I offered to show the police that it's on my credit card and hasn't been paid for yet, so it's mine. Never went back or spoke to her again, and I always wondered how she managed with no front door until she got it replaced. Are there like emergency front door installation services out there? Like how fast would it be reasonably expected for this person to be able to call up somebody, get somebody to rush out there with a replacement front door and hinge it up and pop it on? How long do you think it actually took her to get her front door back on? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Just Songbird. You like honking? I'll give you honking. I was driving in city traffic with my husband today when I witnessed some lovely petty revenge. There was a car 2 cars back from us honking up a storm. There was nothing anyone could do to move faster. The light would change and the car 2 cars behind us would already be honking, despite there being no way for anyone to move yet. My husband's a pretty impatient guy, and even he thought this person was being overly aggressive. The car in front of the honker finally stopped and made the impatient person go around them. Then they turned the tables and started laying on the horn every time the honker had to stop for lights or traffic. We were enjoying watching the honker's face in the rearview mirror as they sat at an intersection too jammed to get through, with their former victim riding their bumper with their horn blaring. I hope they learned something. I don't think there's anything worse than you being the fall guy for the person in front of you or in front of multiple people, being the slow one or driving badly. When somebody behind you is blaring on your horn, but you know it's a guy 2 cars up or 3 cars up that's probably 87 years old and doesn't hear the horn from behind them. But yeah, no, just keep honking at me. It's definitely because I'm not flooring it hard enough. Our next story is by Straight Aioli, The Gift That Keeps On Giving. A few weeks ago, I was scrolling through Reddit while watching reality TV. My husband comes in and changes the channel to sports. He says he can because I'm on my phone and not paying attention to the TV, plus it's the finals and an important game. This pisses me off because it's rude. We have 3 TVs and he can watch it in another room. Cue the petty revenge. That TV is a Roku Smart TV. I waited until the game got intense, opened the Roku remote app on my phone, and hit the home button while pretending to be unaware of what was happening. He silently freaked out, looked at me trying to gauge my reaction, more about this later, grabbed the remote and navigated back to the game. We finished that and kept on living our lives. A little backstory, this TV seemed to be kind of faulty. It would randomly kick me out of whatever app I had it on and go back to the home screen. Kind of annoying, but no big deal. This TV also happens to be on the adjacent wall to the Xbox room, aka his man cave. Eventually, I started to realize that there was a pattern with the timing of this bug. I would get kicked out approximately an hour or so after he went in to play Xbox. Apparently, you can hear the TV through the wall, and it's annoying to his Xbox bros because it gets picked up in the mic. I believe that he's been home screening me for quite some time now. Now I just do it randomly even when I'm not mad at him. He still home screens me during Xbox time, and I get a tiny and petty bit of revenge by turning up the volume when I go back to my show. This has been going on for weeks, and I'm prepared to die on this petty hill. Well, this sounds like a healthy relationship. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely no relationship coach, but I feel like there should be some more communication going on here. Compromise is a beautiful thing, I'm just saying. And our final story of the day is by Midnight Slayer 0372. My ex lied to me about being divorced, so I ruined his reputation, marriage, and job in one blow. When I was a naive 24-year-old, I met a charming and very smart and way older man. We'll call him Jake for the story. His sister is Dana, and I'm Gina. Jake was 42, recently divorced, or so he told me, and got a kid that he would see the weekends. We meet online through a poetry website where the both of us used to write. He was very aloof and stern on his comments and not very popular on the website because he used to always come off like an arrogant jerk, but I really liked his poems regardless of his personality, and that's how it began. I commented on one, and he instantly PM'd me back praising my writing and asked me if we could collaborate on a duet together. I've already done it 1,000 times with a few friends and people on that site that I respected, so I said sure. So long story short, we met on Hotmail Messenger. This was nearly 11 years ago, kids, so no WhatsApp, although we did chat on Facebook too. This will become relevant later. Long story short, we instantly connected. He was funny, handsome, and really sweet underneath all his bravado, and his dark sense of humor was right up my alley. We spent months pulling all-nighters, just talking and writing together. Not humble bragging, but I was pretty popular on the site because I won a few awards, so by association, he became popular too. People started to read Jake's poems and commented, and obviously he got a huge head about it, but I digress. Our relationship became more serious after he confessed that he was falling for me, and I was smitten, so I went along with it. We talked about my recent breakup, and he assured me that he would never lie to me because of course he used that, witch of his ex-wife cheated on him, and he was devastated until he met me. I was shocked for how bad her ex was, but assured him that I was all in. And I meant that. One important detail about our turbulent romance is that he was in South America. He's from there, and I was still living in Italy in my hometown. So after almost 2 years of excuses for how tied up on work he was, I decided to surprise him with a visit. I bought my ticket, and it was literally like a dream. He picked me up, we kissed, hugged, he took me to his beach house, which would have been my first red flag, but I was dumb, young, and in love, saying that it would be so much easier and fun for me doing touristy stuff on a beach port than staying in his suburbs house with no car. Because I told him in such a short notice, he didn't have the time nor means to take time off, which, again, blatant lie because he was one of the partners of the company, but again I bought it. And off I went on my own almost for the entire week that I was there. He only spent one night with me, and the rest of the week just picked me up from wherever it was that I ended up wandering, and we hung out for a few hours, hooked up, and then he just drops me off at the house. I know that most of you are thinking, come on OP, just get your head out of your butt and realize what a bunch of BS that is. And believe me, now writing this, I realize how much of an idiot I was. But it gets better. The day before I have to get back to Italy, he took me to dinner with his 6-year-old son and his sister. I was super happy to meet his family and son, but got caught off guard when he just introduced me as his friend from Italy dropping in as a tourist. His sister was super sweet, albeit a bit awkward, and his son was adorable. We ate, talked, and off we went. He picked me up first thing in the morning and dropped me off at the airport. Now that you got the full story, I'll get to the good part. 2 days later, and still a bit jet-lagged, I get a very interesting email from his sister Dana. Her email was short and very simple. Dear Gina, I know that you might think I was weird and maybe a bit rude when we met, but it was only because I was tricked by Jay to join the dinner with his kid. He never mentioned that you guys were dating, but after confronting Jake, he confessed and begged me not to tell anyone or his marriage would be ruined. But you're such a sweet and young girl that doesn't deserve his lies. Jake is still married and never left their home. Don't just take my word for it. And Dana sent me pictures of his real Facebook profile and surprise, the perfect little family. I thanked her and shut down my computer. I was devastated. I really thought Jake was the love of my life and was seriously considering moving there. I spent all night crying and drinking wine until I got myself the worst migraine. But the heartbreak lasted about 12 hours. At 4 a.m., I got up, showered, made a pot of fresh coffee, and started planning my revenge. I was hurt, yes, but also so angry that he not only deceived me, but dragged his sister and his innocent child in his lie. I was at the other side of the world and I didn't have money to pay someone to kick his butt or egg his car. But as my Sicilian father would have said to me, if someone slaps you, don't turn the other cheek, cut off their freaking hand. And so I did. Cue my sweet revenge. I sat down at my desk, turned on the computer, and logged into his Hotmail. I didn't have the password, but I knew him well enough to answer his 3 security questions on the section "Forgot Password." 1, 2, 3, boom baby, I'm in, and holy moly, this arrogant piece of human crap was not only dating me but 2 other girls. I quickly logged onto his Facebook too because he had everything linked. How naive. So I quickly changed all his passwords to I'm a jerk and discovered that his personal email was also connected to his work account. I dug through his emails for 2 hours. This idiot never erased anything, so he had more than 5,000 emails. Until I found something very interesting. The girls he was also seeing and their very hot email exchanges. Noodle pics included. So what did I do, you guessed? I crafted a very lengthy and explicit email with pics and chat logs attached, confessing to Jake's wife, posing as him obviously, begging for forgiveness, and declaring how much of a bad person I was, and as proof of my willingness to change and transparency, was sending this email to the girls too. But that I did it only because I was a closeted gay and thought that being a player would help me forget how much I really loved guys. That I was sick of pretending and hoped she could move on and maybe be friends. But not only to them, I freaking copied his entire list of contacts, including the CEO and partners of the company he worked at, his parents, and Dana, of course. This email was perfection. All the pictures and chats, myself included, he ever exchanged with any other woman. I copied myself on the list, obviously as a countermeasure, and move on to the part 2 of my plan. I changed all of his Facebooks and declared that I was so relieved that people finally knew who I was. The pride flag was his new wall picture and his profile picture was a photoshopped picture of 2 guys kissing. I created 5 different accounts on gay websites with all his info, including his phone number, and started to chat with a bunch of guys until out of nowhere, this guy sent me, better yet, he sent Jake a message. Tony was his old university friend that had always been secretly lusting for him for years, and although I felt bad for this later, I set up a date. Part 3 of my plan. 1 week after this massive internet blowout, and his family and friends are angrily calling him all sorts of names, and he got fired because his bosses didn't want the bad press. So Jake, trying to make amends with his family and friends, had a barbecue for his birthday. But I would have paid 1 year worth of salary just to see his face and his guests' faces when in the middle of their celebration, Tony appeared with a bottle of champagne and bags full of lube and sex toys to celebrate privately as I asked. Apparently there was a huge fight and everyone left Jake flustered and angry. Jake crying because some psycho wanted to ruin his life. I blocked him and forgot about everything until 6 months ago when he out of the blue sent me a message on Instagram asking me why I disappeared and didn't support him when he was at his lowest. And oh boy, the satisfaction I felt when I only replied back, "Sorry Jake, but I think everything you got was karma for all the lies you fed me and the time you wasted. Good luck. Oh, and by the way, it was always me." I then blocked him and made my account private. Jake did try to call a few mutual friends to try to get them to give him my number, but they ignored him. They also got the infamous email. So yeah, I got my petty revenge, and it was worth every single hour. I know, I'm freaking petty. As much as I want to believe that this story was real, there's a lot of moving parts here that make it easy to not believe it. Like, I just can't believe that somebody would be so dumb to go ahead and willingly cheat and then at the same time bring their sister to meet them. If anybody out there had a sibling and they knew their sibling was married, and that sibling invites you to dinner with one of their friends visiting from half the world away, a friend you've never met before, never heard from before, don't know anything about, also half their age, mind you, what could possibly be the reasonable conclusion from that? I'm sorry, but one friend half your age doesn't fly across the world just to do a touristy thing. It's a little hard to believe there, bucko. And then just kind of glossing over that it was really easy to guess their password all of a sudden, and then they were able to get into their Facebook. There's just like Mountain Peak 1 they got over, Mountain Peak 2 they got over, Mountain Peak 3 they got over. There's a lot of stuff that OP had to pull off to make this story work out the way it did. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.